Peace and good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you back into another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your foul player. Feeling rested, feeling good, and I wanted to cook on a topic that I had at hand, and it was sort of based off some of the comments that I was getting on my last video. And it's an idea that I wanted to, but I also wanted to discuss an idea that I wanted to incorporate in real time and that us as boxing fans could do um, to try to see who's going to be right in real time and um, a standard that, or just pushing certain standards that we should all apply as far as our fanship with these fighters and with the sport in general. But one thing that I think that we should start to do, and one thing that I'm going to try to hone in on is this Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez situation. As far as like where these channels dictate should be the way we talk about this, whether it be through negotiation, mostly through negotiation, because like the thing that a lot of these boxing channels are relegated to talking to, and as fans that we're all relegated to talking to, is negotiations, because these are the things that drag on for 3 years, 4 years, seemingly like is the standard nowadays for all these negotiations to drag on like 3 years plus. And if you talk about a build up to a fight, when a fight's announced and then the build up to it, I mean, maybe you get a little bit more than 6 months of talking about that. So a lot of the times that that a lot of the subject matter on most of these shows happens more along the side of negotiations with these potential fights. So I mean, like, a lot of these content creators are now relegated to talking about that, which is fine by me. But it's just when they start to deviate their standards and make it seem as to why you should forget a standard sometimes, or like why you should forget something that happened, maybe a year ago, maybe a couple months ago, even. That's what I think that it's an exercise that we could put in real time with this Devin Haney Teofimo Lopez situation, as it as we compare it, as how we can compare it in a long term basis with the Errol Spence Bud Crawford situation. Like a lot of the same things that you could apply to Devin Haney slash Bud Crawford, being that they're on the same promotion, you could sort of apply to Devin Haney and Errol Spence. Even though I know Devin Haney and Errol Spence aren't on the same promotion, you do have two fighters that are coming. Or with Devin Haney and Errol Spence, a lot of these content creators that align with Devin Haney and Errol Spence more are like the ones that are deviating from the standard that that they put in place a year ago, or like that they were trying to enforce a year ago. And it's not right. It's not the most egregious thing like that's happening in boxing fandom, but we do got to police ourselves. We got to check ourselves. At the end of the day, we all love boxing. I'm not like taking shots at nobody. Like, it is what it, and a lot of these channels, or like a lot of these content creators, I love these dudes. I love these channels. Not like me fronting, and I may be hard on Errol Spence as a, in the past, or yeah, but I'm coming from a place of like of love, in a sense, because Errol coming up, he was one of my guys. I mean, like, it is what it is. When he fought when he beat when he fought after the Olympics, and he got like over 4 million views on NBC, I was man, like, that's a great move. Like, then it happened on Coney Island in Brooklyn, like where I'm from. I'm thinking in my head, like, there's a great move, and followed up with fighting Kell Brook. In the UK, I'm like, man, this kid's on the rise. But then for him to plateau, I mean, like, and then, like, have to make excuses for it, like, and the reason that he's sort of plateauing is because he doesn't want to fight one guy, like, which is Bud Crawford. But I do want to, like, follow these things long term, like, and I think you should too, like see if these channels like begin to deviate from what their standards are. And I'll give you a little bit of a well, I'll bust your bubble, be like in a sense, because a lot of these channels are doing just that. And they don't. It doesn't make them pieces of shit, or it doesn't make them the worst people in the world. But we do gotta enforce the standard, and I hope that you like a lot of people come closer to the standard that I keep, where these things shouldn't deviate based on like a fighter being on a different promotion, or you know uh, try to make these big arguments about like a level of competition when neither fighters are fighting like fantastic competition. All right, like if you want to say level of competition, like with a Manny Pacquiao and then Ryan Garcia or some shit. All right, like yeah, I can see that. But like you don't got, or even if you don't, whether you see that or not, you don't gotta make that a reason as to why we shouldn't be making fights. There should be no reason why we shouldn't be making fights. I don't care if you're on another promotion. I don't care if one dude represents Al Qaeda versus like uh, the Israeli army. Like I don't care if like they insulted your mother. Make fights. And especially with this promotional excuse, like that Fury is and Wilder are about to fight for a third time. Top rank, PBC. What's your excuse, Errol Spence fans, Errol Spence Nation? And again, I love you guys, like and I love Errol Spence, but it is what it is. But like a lot of the things that are thrown out about Bud Crawford, it's the resume thing at 147, which I mean, 40 is 7 pounds less than 147. It's not like we were under a rock and didn't see these fights. If you like Errol Spence and or Bud Crawford, you've seen the fights that Bud Crawford had at 140 a couple of years ago. Like it doesn't matter that he moved up to 147 and still won a championship, and is fighting some of the names that Errol Spence fought, i.e. Kell Brook. You're acting like they're on two different planets, and they're not. The and it and whether they are or not in your mind, it's not a reason to not push for these fights next. And if 50-50 is a way that that fight gets made, be on the side of let's get 50-50 done, rather than the side of, oh well, he shouldn't be asking for 50-50. It's simple. I mean, to me, to make the fight happen, like should it be like, oh well, Bud Crawford got to do more like to get 50-50? That's just gonna take longer for us to get the fight, like period. But I've never heard any of these channels, and if I'm wrong, I mean, like you could tell me, like watch a video, and I'll go ahead and watch it, But I've never heard a lot of these channels mention the disparity of Devin Haney's resume when trying to compare it with Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez has a way better resume. Do I say that Teofimo Lopez shouldn't fight Devin Haney because of that resume? Absolutely not. Fight him. Like, fight next. I don't give a shit. But, a lot, like, if Teofimo Lopez says, well, I'm going to wait till you get a little older, or, like, to fight you, or you should fight this guy that I just fought. You fight Lomachenko next. And then we'll see if we fight. Like, is that fair? Like, or is that, would that sound whack for Teofimo Lopez to say? Absolutely. Am I gonna say that? Fuck no. If they want to fight next, I mean, like, great. If promotions get in the way, you can't be bitching like about Teofimo Lopez if you're not gonna do the same about Errol Spence not fighting Bud Crawford. And I'm saying this too because, again, like a lot of these channels that are very pro Devin Haney are also pro Errol Spence. And I say that more because I love the shit out of a lot of these channels, but little by little, like, my love for watching their content. I'm not saying they're bad people, except for a few choice people like that are pieces of shit. King Louis, fucking who else? The Reverend keyboard guy. But besides that, like, it's I was a big time biggest fan of a lot of these channels. I mean, I'm not trying to come up like using your name or using this as like the thing to beat my drum to, but it is what it is. If the shoe fits, the shoe fits. But you know, going down the list of who um Tiafimo beat, when you have Nakatani, he was a good fighter. I mean, like at the time he did struggle with him, and I think that took a lot of his it took a little bit away from his name, like as far as struggling with Nakatani. But Nakatani still is giving a lot of people shits in the ring. I mean, like, so it's not like you know he fought a bum. Like maybe we didn't know about Nakatani then, but we know about him now, and it's not just off of his performance against Tiafimo. It's like what he's done since then too. But then you had Richard Comey. I mean, Richard Comey was a good adversary, like a good opponent for Tiafimo Lopez, and I thought that fight there was a good possibility that Comey could have beat him. I thought it was a little bit early, if in a sense, and that's me in a fanboy perspective, as far as like maybe me not like thinking it's a little bit early because I like the kid from being that he's from my same neighborhood. But he goes on to beat Comey in debilitating fashion. Then moves on to his next fight to fight Lomachenko, somebody who's considered to be the best fighter in the world, who has his promoter bigging him up the same way that his same promoter doesn't big up his own fighter in Bud Crawford, but you guys want to use that as evidence as to why Bud Crawford's worth is not substantial. Come on, guys, let's make this make sense together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bullshit. Like, let's stop using the bullshit. Because I always see this in the comments, well, Bud Crawford better not fuck around. Or, he might be lucky to get 30%. Well, Bud Crawford, you're going to see Bud Crawford, sign back with Master. Like stupid shit. Like, come on, bro. Like, you guys, like, are being, immature as far as this debate goes. You're being entourage-ish. Like, holy. But, and now he's about to fight, Tiafimo is about to fight Cambosos. Cambosos is a step down from anything he just meant, like anybody I just mentioned. But if I remember, Cambosos currently is undefeated. But, I don't think he doesn't rate with me like that. Like, I think it's a crap fight. But, let's compare that to Comey's resume. Comey beat Jorge Linares. I give him credit, but Linares hasn't been a great opponent in his last couple fights. Do you see signs of age? Yeah, I mean he fought him at 35. Is not like the oldest, but it's not like peak Linares like when he fought Lomachenko. And on top of that, I think a lot of people were overrating Linares even at that point when he fought Lomachenko. But then you have Gamboa. He fought Gamboa at 38. I mean, he didn't do fantastic against him. And not only is Gamboa 38, but that's a Cuban 38, which could be 42. And Gamboa looked to have one leg in that fight. Alfredo Santiago. Who the fuck is Alfredo Santiago? Like, he doesn't even have a Wikipedia. The other guy he fought, that Abdullah guy, at that time, I mean, I think he was 25, Abdullah. But he was a prospect coming up. And he's still a prospect, too. I mean, even though he's 27, he's 13-1. He's since gone on to win after Devin Haney fought him. But again, it's not like a big name, if you will, or a big level of competition. And those are his probably his top wins altogether. Now, compare older Gamboa, a getting older Linares. Who the hell is Alfredo Santiago? Alfredo Santiago, a prospect who had 10 wins at that time that they fought in Abdullah. Compare that to a Kambosos fight coming up, to beating Lomachenko, to knocking out a Richard Comey in the second round, to Yeah, he did struggle with Nakatani, but Nakatani's still making a name for himself after they lost. Now, could Tiafimo say, "Oh well, I fought way better competition than you"? Like I'm pretty sure. Put it like this: I'm pretty sure if Tiafimo's were to say, "I fought way better competition than you, so you're gonna have to give me 60-40." A lot of these same channels would be crying, shrieking right now. Stuff it. You know, who the fuck he thinks he? Ducking. He's ducking. And would I say that that's ducking? I probably would. But why don't you say the same shit about Errol Spence? Anytime something out of Errol Spence's mouth is something other than Bud, because Errol Spence is not gonna fight Bud next either after this Pacquiao fight. It's not gonna happen, bro. Trust me when I tell you. What we're gonna see is oh well, he gotta fill a mandatory with Ugas. Oh, he's gonna fight the winner of Thurman versus Porter or Canelo, like asked for um, Errol Spence. And a lot of you fanboys are gonna be like, oh well, those we did want to see him beat Thurman. Canelo's a way bigger name. But what fight do you want to see next more? Errol Spence versus Canelo, or Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford? If you say Canelo and you're a lot of these channels that I'm thinking about, you're hypocrites. Sure it's a bigger fight, but what's the fight you wanted to see more? What's the level of competition? Like who's gonna win? Fight you want to see more? It was definitely Bud versus Errol. So let's make that fight happen. That's the best fight for us. But stop fronting too. Let me know what you guys think. And I'm gonna continue. And the reason I'm making this video is because I'm gonna continue to cook on this subject. And if you guys don't change the way you've been talking about these fighters, about these particular fighters Devin Haney and then Errol Spence, as to what their demand should be, then I'm gonna have a bunch of material. You're pretty much giving me a little bit of a layup. With that, I'm out. Peace.